Morning, buddy.
Hey, good morning, man. How are you? What's the state of 2020?
I tell you what, I've got Victoria in the room. Let's ask her, what is the state of 2020? What a way to start a call.
Hi, Victoria.
Always curious, she says.
Yeah.
Hiya.
Hey, how are you, darling? You're looking really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just watch your videos for the garden. You know that.
Oh, that's lovely. And I saw your photos, like your post on Dream Driven Day. I sort of didn't. I've played in previous Dream Driven Days, but it's been going for a number of years, and it just became. It gets a bit chaotic here trying to do that as well. So that's why I haven't been playing, but I did see yours.
Yeah.
What else would be the state of 2020?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. It's the mystery of. It was a really weird thing because I was thinking I got this chance to come and have a chat with you, and I'm thinking, what do I want to chat about, and I had this thing: do I come from where am I stuck or what's working? And I tend to err on the side of what's working in my life, right? I start there rather than what's not working. I start with what is working, right? And part of that is state, has to be, because that's what I'm getting out of all your stuff.
Right.
Yeah. The state. What state? Yeah.
So real quick, we got rules. The rules are this. Ready?
Yeah.
Cool. Whatever we do with this, the recording is yours. If you want us to make a public thing out of it, I can do that like I did with Lisa's. Just do the audio of us chatting with some background photo from the garden. I have no preference. And so that's the rules. Beyond that, I'm curious, what's at 90 degrees? So you've got your two polarities, where the guitar string is attached and tuned. So what's working, what's not working? What's at 90-degree angles to the bowstring?
Yeah, good question.
It just might be the state of Andrew or the state of 20. Because sometimes the state of 20 works marvelously. Sometimes it's a clusterfuck because I walk around just puzzled by humanity, including me. Just like, what the fuck, man? Cool.
Yeah. I guess, like, I've been tiptoeing around through your programs, right? It's interesting how I came to them, but tiptoeing around the programs. And then showing up on the site and having listened to what people say and ask the questions, watching the videos, right, and like you, I deal with a lot of people who appear to be stuck, or they actually are stuck, right? So there's the reality is there's a reality to what they're saying, or put it this way, it seems quite real,
right?
Particularly in business. So I've got someone who COVID has just absolutely just decimated their, they've lost 65% of their business, right? Lost 60% of their staff. Those things are quite real, no matter what they're doing.
Right.
And government legislation has stopped them dead in their tracks, etc., right? So there's that stuff, and then there's the stuff that's made up. So, and I tend to work more with people where it's what they're making up, right? So that's that whole manifesting mastery was what, you start in with, what's this, what are you making this mean?
Yeah. It's a gorgeous lesson because no matter what you do for a living or what you do during your day, like you working with a client, if you can just get them to nail that, you can totally change their lives and charge them $1 zillion or it doesn't matter. You're on a date. You just bring up, if you can explore that on a date, yeah, suddenly 2 lives are changed forever, no matter whatever happens after the date, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. But the state thing, that was, I was just, because you, I mean, obviously you're dealing with a lot of people and a lot of issues, and you got to pull an answer out the hat all the time.
Yeah.
People. Right? Whether you feel like it or not. Right?
Have you done martial arts? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I thought so. So the biggest thrill I ever got in my life was when I started getting good enough to fight more than one person. And when you got so when you're a black belt and you're fighting against 2 or 3 other black belts at the same time, there's that quote unquote flow state, which is just gorgeous. But then, like, in order to, if you come from a body-based perspective, you have to keep amping things up to keep getting the flow state. So, like the joke with Tony Robbins goes, you need a longer firewalk. So he just doubles the price of the seminar and makes the firewalk twice as long, right? Pretty soon you're just walking from New York to Nebraska on a firewalk. But when you really explore consciousness, there's an absolute thrill to discovering the answer as it shows up. Okay, because like, obviously I'll repeat the same thing a lot every day. Have you done easy manifesting methods? How are you using the tools? How are you playing with revision? I mean, I can. Those are almost bodily things, but how they show up or what shows up alongside of those, the spices on the rice, that's that infinite curious. I get in India that everybody makes curry a little differently, and it may not be the same 2 times in a row. It's definitely not the same 2 times a row when I make anything. So that whole thing of, like, we've got our operating principles that we operate with, but that's the state of 2020. It really does have that nonstop curious, how am I going to explore this? How are you and I going to dance with whatever we do? It's sort of like when we physically met up with you. Oh my God, was that darling? You know, I had my plan. It went off 80%, but it went off 3,000% better than I could have planned. You know,
it was a great day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually glad I caught up with you. It was great. And it was great to catch up with Victoria as well.
Oh my God.
And I love that. Who's this guy? Wasn't it just amazing? That was the best bit. Yeah. But I hear what you're saying. It's part of my journey with this stuff has been for my own benefit, right? It's not that I want to pass it on to anyone else, right? That's a big part of it. Dream Triple D. I can't even say that. Dream
driven day.
Hey, dream driven day. I can't even say it. Dream driven day. Dream driven day. Yeah. The Triple D.
You sound like a drunk hobbit.
Yeah. Well. But it was interesting going into that, because I didn't feel ready to go into that. Right. There was a lot going on through that whole thing. You know,
best time to do it.
It was a challenge. And probably the last 12 months particularly have been particularly challenged with. I think I might have shared, with things like people just stealing my IP and having to go through lawyers, a defamation suit which I won. Character assassinations, which cost me a job, which was later revealed. I was in a very public office, and I had to resign from that public office, and it tracks back to a defamation thing, which I can prove and was proved, but the decision had been made, and the disappointment of that was just horrendous. It was just it's just very difficult, particularly when it was something I really loved doing, really enjoyed doing, So that was, while I was doing the Dream Driven Day, I was going all through that, right? But then I'm dipping into these tools, and I love the manifesting, the manifest. The manifesting mastering.
I like your names for my stuff better than my names for my stuff.
Manifesting mastery.
Manifesting, man. How do you know it's coming? What's manifesting?
What's manifesting? What's festering? Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and I wanted to actually start this by saying thanks for that. Thank you for that, because it's wonderful technology. It sneaks up on you in a nice sort of way, right? And I think I've done the MM maybe three times through it.
Nice.
Yeah, with a goal to go through it again, because I just enjoyed it so much. Just stuff you thought you got, you missed. Well, stuff I thought I got, I missed. Right? Yeah. And each time I've done it, I've become more active in doing it rather than more passive in just download more stuff. 20.
Yep, I got it.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. More active in it, and then instead of doing it one a day, might be one a week. Where there was one thing that I think I need to do this another week, because it was so good. There was one there that I super enjoyed, particularly in Dream Driven Day and also in the manifesting mastery. Man, why do you come up with tongue twister names like you?
I call it alliteration, but I love your versions better than mine. We're working on a love program that I want to call Everlasting Love, because it's got a nice alliteration to it.
Yeah.
But Everlasting Love is a Filipino dating site, so it's like, man, I gotta ponder that around a little bit. But everlasting love, that might be available.
A lingering love, yeah. But that can go anywhere. That one, yeah. But this is what I was thinking. What I want to ask you, and there's some. And you've actually sort of covered a little bit, but there's a whole lot of basics when I read the site and people who are showing up there and listening to the questions and the calls that we did on Triple D, just listening to people and how they're putting it, right? And a lot of the answers about knit one, purl two. Like my grandma used to knit one, purl two. Stick to your knitting. Okay, here's the knitting pattern. Stick to it, right? And if it's not working out, just go back to the knitting pattern, right?
Right.
So knit one, purl two. Do you know what you want? Have you set up an imaginary scene? Have you brought in some of the things, like you brought in some of the visual and the congratulatory conversation, and are you associated or dissociated? I don't think you use that language, but yeah, I think you know what I mean.
It's all in there, right?
Yeah. But the thing that I got, and it was a really interesting observation, because I thought a lot about it, is how you stay in the state. Because a lot of the stuff in manifesting mastery is what took you out of state. Where'd you go off state? What? I mean, it's not a tripwires means something in marketing, doesn't it? It's whatever tripwire is. But to me, a tripwire is you tripped over something. A tripwire was always. I remember Combat. Those war movies where they had a tripwire, and you think highly trained guys.
And that's not good.
Yeah. And highly trained guys always miss it, right? They always get, the guy riding the bike can't see the bar or the tree or something like that, right? And yet these are super highly trained guys, who miss the obvious. So I'm thinking, where did I get tripped up? Where did I go out of state? Where did I fall out of state? And how do I get back into that state? Yeah. Because there's a state I do, which is, when you get in, like you're saying, I just this is what I do all day, every day. But for example, when I'm working with clients, I'm in that state, really a really good, efficient state. It just works.
Right.
And I don't have to think about staying in that state.
Right. Totally.
Right. Am I in state? I don't have to think about that, because I'm just in it, right? Does that mean? Because you've got the NLP background, does that mean you're anchored in that state? You've anchored it in some way, that because you can just resource it.
I'll skip the anchoring part of the question, but I love that Neville says you can feed a desire or you can feed its fulfillment. And so if you're in your dwelling place and you're eating lunch, odds are you're not going to stumble outside for whatever reason. You're going to finish your meal. So you're, when you're doing what you love, what you're good at, and you're in that flow state, you're not going to be losing your state. You're there. You're dancing around naked in the living room. You're not going to step outside to put a dressing gown on.
Yeah, it's almost too much information.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting thing, right? Like, for example, I don't have to conjure up a state
when I'm just surrender to it. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people miss with this, because when you get, it's all about surrendering to some state. You're always surrendering to some state. You get to discover how you surrender. I love studying commercials. Being a marketer, I just love studying commercials, and I love how they show the pizza on the table, and then they show the crowd of people all around it, and little Billy all happy and looking at Dad, and of course the pizza's there. But then they do a close up of the pizza, and they show somebody picking, like they just show the cheese of the pizza stretching as it's being picked up, which is the user experience. And for some people, that gets them to order the damn pizza. It's just finding, how do you surrender to what's for dinner? How do you surrender to these states that just give to you? That there'll be some formula that you follow with visual, auditory, kinesthetic, with the different gates. And when you really get that, like one of my big ones is always, when I like sharing with other people. This is a gateway for me. So congratulatory conversation in any form, anytime we've any way of giving status and experience that oxytocin is just marvelous for me personally. So it's like, Victoria's not here. It's funny because you know how the puppies will basically pattern themselves after us in some way. Victoria leaves, they don't want to eat. So if she leaves for a couple of days, day one's a little rough, right? They will tend to eat now about 7 o'clock at night, right? Then I let them run till about 9 so they can go take a poop and then come on in. But they normally eat around 1 in the afternoon. That's big meal time for all of us, between 12 and 1. But they've picked up on probably my patterns of food is fellowship.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I surrender into any kind of fellowship, it just easily happens. Yeah, that's that Victoria's Yum experience that I talk about all the time. Congratulatory conversations are a big one for most people. And it doesn't mean, Andrew, you look spiffy. It's a congratulatory conversation. It could be just a look when someone looks at you and just appreciates who you are. So how do you surrender? How do you surrender to anything?
Is that a question, or is that just a reflection?
I think that's a big part of all of it. Like you mentioned, how do you stay in a state? How do you stay surrendered to it? How do you let yourself surrender to it more? Might be even a more useful question.
It brings up the question of a lot of the questions that you get asked are about, how do I get into that state? I'm in a state what I don't like right now. How do I get into there? It's sort of, I think what we were just chatting about is, I'm in a state and I don't have a difficulty getting into that state. I don't need to even think, how do I get into state this morning? I wake up and it's almost like I'm anchored to this desk. It just puts me in a resourceful state with people, right? Or who knows, right? That's a basic, right? So, and it feels good, and I really love the thing about fellowship. I mean, I love people. And I love jigsaws. So growing up, I loved jigsaws, and I love pulling apart toasters, and I love pulling apart radios and getting electrocuted and stuff like that. And I think you did too, pulling apart motor mowers and bikes. Totally. And turning parts into something else, like a billy cart, right? Hanging around garages for the ball bearing wheels, or anything that had cogs, right? Making a hand pedal bike, those sort of stuff, right? So I love pulling stuff apart and putting it back together. And the people part, like you, fascinates me. Absolutely fascinates me. How people create an amazing world, or a world that is amazing and they can't see that it's amazing. So they get stuck in that, which I love that. That's what I love doing, right? And the jigsaw thing. And another part of me goes, why have I had some of the challenges that I've had in the past 5 years that repeatedly have done my head in? And I'm a smart guy, highly qualified, smart guy. I'm blessed beyond belief, and just can't enjoy the blessings, and because of the state I got into. That's how I sort of came into your orbit, thinking, why, if I'm so clever, why am I so screwed up on this? How do I get into that state? It was really, really challenging. They're challenging programs. That was the thing I found. I thought this is going to be a nice one, but it wasn't. It was actually quite difficult.
This was going to be a nice one.
I thought you were going to play nice, but you don't. It's like, and I think, you talk about the martial arts. Have you ever fought more than one person? Like, your job is, I'm fighting 50,000 of them all in the one day. You've got a big community there to play with. But I like how you reframed it to play. I've got mates and play, and which I'm on the same page with that. Because I don't go to work, I go to play, and I go to have friends, and good relationships and things like that. And there's not much wrong going on in my life. There's just one or two things I'd love to fix, and so it comes back to those tools. Like the imaginal act. What is the imaginal act, and how do I stay in the state of that? Because when you're that close, but you can't stay in it, or you can't get into that state. And I hear that a lot in a lot of the questions, Yeah.
Bruce, leave it.
Yeah.
He's eating wood. See, how do I do that? I don't get it that it's a coincidence Bruce is eating wood while you and I are talking. And when I should answer you, I answer him.
Yeah. It had the same effect. Maybe a lot of people are just eating wood.
I don't believe in coincidence. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
It's I think it's interesting. I wonder how many people, it's the thing, people come to this stuff when they're in trouble. How many of them stick around and get the car super tuned up? You get your car serviced every 3 months, 6 months, $200, no big deal. But how many people go in? I had a bunch of friends in Pennsylvania who their whole thing was replacing the computer chips and spark plugs and wires with all the high test stuff. So they would, and I'd tell them, I don't get you guys. You take a perfectly good car and turn it into something that you can get arrested with. And they're all like, yeah. And it's like, but then I understood that's why they hung out with me, because my buddy Mike came to me when I had my Army Navy store, and he said, will you teach? And I said, I'm tired of teaching. And this was 30 years ago. It's like, I'm done teaching. I don't want to fucking teach anymore. I'm done with this. And that maybe 25 years ago. And lo and behold, what happened through Mike was I ended up hanging out with all these skateboarders that all come to take martial arts classes from me. But half the time we wouldn't be doing martial arts. We'll just be talking this stuff. Or we'll be doing martial arts while talking this stuff. And with some of them, it got to the point where they weren't interested in the martial arts at all. We just talked. And it's literally how I fell into this quote unquote profession. And I do find it fascinating, because these guys taking a perfectly good car and turning it into something they can get arrested with is exactly what a skateboarder does. A skateboarder isn't content to walk down the street. They want to go faster, jump on shit, do tricks, and just keep going. And I'm always curious about like humans, because we really do have this thing of three options. We've got fix something, make it work better, like evolutionary wise, or be revolutionary. Just really reinvent whatever the game is. And that's my rant. seeming answer. I think the number one thing that keeps me in a state is being fascinated by it.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah,
I can understand it. And I like the story about the tune-up too, because there's some people who are just happy just to have a car that goes from A to B, but same sort of thing. I'm interested in how does someone do something more efficiently? Maybe it's efficiency, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see that particularly with, you see that really with a lot of people that I work with, where they do really stupid, dumb stuff, right? Really, really dumb stuff, and it doesn't need to be done. but that's the choice, right?
Yeah,
so
I've never done that, and I've never had a client do that.
Do dumb stuff.
Correct.
like the rules that people have to have before they can be happy, almost like I've got, it's
exactly.
Yeah,
I've got a 72-point checklist. All right.
Yeah, no more. Well, I got a client with 84 checks. Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I was chatting with, I was talking on a thing yesterday. I was a guest speaker on a thing, and they said, where we're right now, what do you think we need? And I said, we just need more hugs right now. If you've got the opportunity to hug someone, make eye contact and hug them, right? Because they were expecting a big businessy answer. But I said, right now, people just really starved for touch. They're starved for eye contact. They're starved for real contact, And it's incredible. A lot of execs that I've been working with recently, they've got the game worked out, but they're just miserable. And a lot of it is they're just not connecting. Their whole empire of pheromone dominance when you get them in a room has disappeared because it's all Zoom based now, right? Somebody asked me on the question, you say, why have you got a mattress in the back in your office? Right? So if you're listening to this, there's a mattress in the office, but yeah, and I don't know that, but
see, here I am thinking it's a whiteboard.
yeah, because I need to have a sleep sometimes. There's a lot to be said for having a snooze in the middle of the day.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. Like you eat at 1 o'clock. I'm probably going to have a super nap. Go and sit outside, or cook something, or go sit outside, or enjoy the dog, or something like that.
Yeah, nap is after food.
Yeah, and a lot of people just don't do that. Yeah. Hey, one outcome of doing the Dream Driven Day, the Triple D.
Yeah, your book.
Yeah,
nice.
To get the book. Yeah, One Thing Less, right, which came out. It's doing really, really nicely.
I want an autographed copy of that.
Yeah, I'll send you one. At some point, I need to know the physical address or where to send it, but we can do that later. But yeah, but I mean, it was. I was looking at the program and thinking a lot of it gets you stripping back stuff, right? Just pop the bonnet and strip it back, pull parts out, and then put it back in. And there's a bit of fine tuning in there, right?
It's funny because the course appears to have you add in little things to do, but it really is. It's all about stripping out little tiny things.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're so
and noticing what happens. Yeah, noticing what happens. So you mentioned earlier about the gates. Right. And I haven't heard you mention that before. And there's a couple of things like there were a couple of questions maybe I had gaps in the learning, but I didn't get the buns bit. I cook, and I thought you're talking about buns and ovens and stuff like that. And where I come from, that means you're getting people pregnant, right?
Nice.
That's what it means.
Even better.
A bun in the oven is you're going around impregnating everybody, right? And I think that's just desires. I'm assuming that's different desires that you're playing with.
Yeah. Put a bun in the oven. Another wish fulfilled. Just nail it.
Got it. Right. Yeah. And then the war game.
War game dance.
War game dance.
Yeah. God, you don't have those recordings? I'll get them to you.
No.
Okay.
Because people are making a lot of noise about that. I think, well, hang on, what did I miss? Why didn't I get sent the special information that everyone else got? Why did I miss out?
That was a cool course, because for years I was doing a basic NLP thing with active and passive.
Yeah.
So passive being you're at war with everything, life is sort of happening to you. Active, you're more, you're actually active in your life. Things are, and you are doing things. And we evolved from that into war game dance. War being the typical thing, mask, no mask, vax, no vax, all that stuff that everyone's doing every day now. Game being actually applying the tools. And dance, in its current incarnation, seems to be discovering you in the moment, who you get to be by doing this stuff.
Yeah. Well, you're not worried about the war or the game.
It can still show up, but you also get to notice, who am I being in this moment? Am I the dance of life? Do I notice I'm the dance of life?
I was listening to a guy the other day, and I know you've seen this, right? This is the thing. I think the charm of what you're doing too is it's a real experience,
right?
Which I like, right? And I was listening to there's a lot of people who play the game I'm perfect, and you're not, right?
Right.
There's a lot of that in marketing, right? I'm perfect, you're not, right? And and just how jarring that is right now for me, right? Because it's a lot of my clients are playing the I'm perfect, you're not game, and then so they don't want to then tune anything up. Why would you want to tune anything up if you're already perfect, right? But then the results don't necessarily support that. So if it's perfect, why are you so frustrated? Or why does all your top talent leave and all the deadheads stay? Right, and they're working with a guy at the moment. All more good people leave, right? But I'm amazing, so yeah.
I've got another chunk size with that, and this chunk size goes down to operations. I don't give a shit if my models are accurate.
Yeah.
I care if they're useful.
Yeah.
So is my model accurate? I had a guy years ago in NLP. He told me, he goes, "You're not using the terms correctly," and I told him anymore. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't care. I'm finding approaching it this way is a little more useful. And it's so we live in this culture that is so wanting to. My model is the right one. My model is perfect. My model is accurate. I just want to notice, is what I'm teaching today useful? If it's actually helping, cool. Yeah, and like we talked about, Mary in Dream Driven Day just reached out to me, and she said she was so tickled that I share in Dream Driven Day in the calls and in the program humanity and divinity, because the pressure of having to be perfect is impossible to maintain, versus being able to laugh at your own folly, being able to learn and notice that continuously life is evolving.
Yeah.
If you're not evolving continuously without some revolutions once in a while, wow, man. Like, how can I get that there's a massive opportunity for people like you and me if we can help people get, like you said, if you got a client or a potential client that thinks that they already, they're the white on rice, it's like, wow, man, this is tough. It's just tough.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess my question to them is, well, why then did you call the meeting?
Yeah, why now? Why are you calling me now?
Yeah. Because I mean, and this, I could go down that one, but I won't. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like 15 months ago, you couldn't have a mattress in the back if you're doing a business call, right? Now it's a talking point, right? But you couldn't do that 15 months ago, right? And
now you're paying people to say, Andrew, you need a mattress in the back.
Oh no, then they'll go, so that's how you do it, right? I haven't got a mattress in the back, right? I got to get a mattress in the back, right? So if you had a sideline selling mattresses, you could just drop that into the conversation. You've got to get a TT mattress to make this work. It's your problem sleep, you know. But I mean, I was chatting with a guy the other day who's got that blurry thing going on Zoom.
Oh my God.
Right. So when he moves, half his head disappears.
Yep.
Right. Which sort of spoils the I'm amazing trick.
And it really reveals what his whole world is.
Yeah.
a little bit of movement, and he starts to dissolve.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, the book idea came started with the manifesting mastery, because it got me thinking, what don't I need? What's just a distraction? Yeah, that was a fine tune in for me, I think. And it was really weird giving away a lot of stuff, because I had 7 bookcases of clinical books, right? Of these, I got 2 left, but I had seven of those, right?
Wow.
So 5 of them I've emptied, and in each book I had a post-it note of when I last looked in the book, right?
Oh, how clever!
Yeah, and then I opened one of my favourite books, which I've had forever. Last time I looked at it was 2003, and I'm thinking, why am I even still hanging on to that? So that was a big wrench to give away stuff like that, right? And to have that disappear, but the immense relief. And then I'm doing the Triple D thing from that perspective of what needs to come out, what can I do better, but what needs to come out, you know, and where am I still getting stuck here, you know? So those were challenges. Man, I've got a good life. I would just like at this stage now, and you know the journey I've been on, where I got hit with a lot of grief for a long time, long time there. And it was only just recent, probably about the last 12 months, where I started to feel like me again. You get it?
Right.
And then am I ready to, but then I'm 5 years older. So I'm playing with that game, the 5 years older game,
Numbers are a bitch.
Aren't they? Aren't they just? Yeah. So, it's one of the things, do you know what you want? Yeah, I know what I want. Can I imagine it? Yeah. And it's a really simple scene, very, very simple scene. It's nothing complex about it. It takes about half a second to run it.
Right. Best ones.
And it feels good. Feels real, and it feels good, but it also feels real, but it's staying in that state.
It's returning to it again and again and again.
Yeah. Nice one.
It's never a photo. It's that electronic simulation of a photo, like a TV screen.
Yeah.
Just consistently refreshing.
Yeah.
What a word, refreshing.
Refreshing, wow. Yeah. There's got to be a triple R program in there. Refreshing's got to be one of them. No, double R. Well, turn your life into a Rolls Royce, double R. Refreshing reality.
Could be.
Yeah. Refreshing your reality.
I haven't used any R's yet. Imagine my surprise when I realized I've got 3 courses that are all MMs. It's like, I didn't plan that. I like the letter, apparently.
Yeah. Well, it could be the pirate course. R. Yeah, that's my tepid joke. Yeah. So, what was I going to ask you? There was a couple of other things. It was really around the state. That's what I came in, because if I listen to people and then I think, what are they teaching me? Because on that course, there was a lot. I would hear something, and there was a lot I could think, I need to make. I would each course I would create a little book, and I would just reflect on it and go through it and just work it, and This is actually one of my favourite books, actually, because it was the manifesting mastery one, right? But then when I went back, did it a third time, I'm going back. I'd go to day 71 to day 71 and have a look at what I wrote, 3 or 4 months prior or something like that.
Right.
So I'm listening to that, and you can do that on your own, but getting into that group and hearing that was wonderful. The group experience, listening to other people chat, because then they'd say something.
Right.
Yeah, and connecting with some of the people on the program as well, and just having little side chats, little sidebars with them about what did that mean to you, and out of that, what came out of that was lovely. So that community aspect was probably for me a big part of it. That was, more important than probably the content, playing with the content, which I think that's a big focus of it, isn't it?
If you do it again, notice what happens, because one of the reasons why the course is so different when people do it with different groups is that it's different groups.
Yeah.
And so like you might show up and Mary might be there, but 28 other different people are.
Yeah.
And what gets woven, it's fascinating to me to be a part of it, but also be apart from it. Just to watch, oh my God.
Yeah. Well, from your perspective, yeah. I get that. I certainly get that. Have you written a book? I know I know you've done white papers and program books, but have you written a book?
But just little tiny, the Neville Goddard Simplifieds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nothing big.
Yeah.
Sooner or later, I've got enough stuff. My God, I've got so many projects here that just I put a framework together and it just sits. So I'm curious. I really get the Dream Driven Day book. We're going to put one of those out at some point.
Yeah,
and it's going to be me, but you guys, sharing a lot. Probably more like a chicken soup of the soul, but different.
Yeah.
And I get that's going to be vital, because this whole Dream Driven Day thing, it took on a life of its own when the loogie came out, because like immediately we watched people go into very deep dread and distraction, because it's like all day long, no matter what. I mean, what is it? It's a year and a half later, and no matter where you go, it's COVID. It's like 80% of the conversation. You know the old joke. What do men talk about? I'm sorry. What do people on planet Earth talk most about? Women.
Yeah.
Women talk about women. Men talk about women. Right. It's the most. And it's true. You just sit back and you listen. But in the past 18 months or whatever, it's gone from women to COVID.
Yeah.
And it's like, fuck, that is fascinating to me.
Yeah. At the start of this, I mean, while you're chatting here, that's one of the things. I'll just show you this here. I had this mate of mine who has a big community, right? A big community, and loads of ideas. Actually, I'll show you the other one as well while I've got it here. So he did a book called Spiritual Fitness.
Right.
And I published it for him, right? So he did the design and publishing, but he also has a community and has all these ideas. And I said, rather than you write another book, why don't you get your people to write a book? So subsequently, Your Best Life came out.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, there we go. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's just the people. What are they pulling from that? What are they taking from that? So I've done these for several years. Another one was Law of Brand Attraction, right?
Ah, nice.
And
there we go.
So it's a whole bunch of people who were in this community sharing what they were taking from it, their take on what they'd been learning, and exactly. It even goes crazy, really crazy. I don't wonder if I've got one here. I haven't, but yes, I have. Here we go. I mean, this one's fabulous, right?
Oh, these titles! Oh, this is. Oh, dude, do you design these? Who designs these?
Yeah,
Who picks?
I do. Yeah, Beauty and the Best, right? And this was just the beauty industry in the UK. And it was women who run salons and clinics and how they built their little salon and their clinics.
Yeah.
And this book just went nuts, and the stories were so real about how they're interacting with what they were learning from this woman. And she just wrote the foreword and then said, you know, how are you interacting with the stuff that you've been learning? What have you done with it? And then it turned into those stories, and those stories just went, and it was so good. They said, can we have another one?
Ha, nice. See, this is so you understand the Dream Driven Day book better than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it exactly. Oh my God. Flip it around, flip it around, flip it around. Oh, look at that.
And these are the top 8 real estate women in the US.
Wow.
And this book just went nuts. Right. So again, it's like, and the woman who runs it this is her tribe, right?
Right.
Right. And her thing is not about succeeding, but it's you know, succeeding in your life. How do you show up in your life? Right. That's the real success, right? So it's and the criteria is we want a real story. We want you know, not a whitewash job. To give me a real story here about how this works. Have you interacted? But this book just blew me away in terms of you read it and it's just. Years ago, I wanted to walk the Camino Trail in Spain, right? And I was at St. Paul's in London, and I fell down the stairs in St. Paul's, and I injured my leg. And then I went to my osteo, and he said, "No, you can't walk it, not yet, because you just do more damage to your leg. Right? 850 clicks is going to ruin your knee, right? If you keep doing it." And I thought, oh well, if I can't walk it, I'll talk to people who have walked it. And then so I did a book called My Camino Walk. And I got 22 people who've walked the Camino and to share their stories. And I think we're up to book 3 on that now.
Wow.
But it's just been wonderful in terms of people sharing different stories. And they pay to be in the book, and it gets marketed globally, and they love it. You know, they just, some of them, they said, one of the girls here said, God, I woke up a best-selling author.
Yeah.
So it's you know, hot, you know, number 1, I think. This guy, this guy here. This was really weird because it was really a talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't know how to pace the content. So when I got the manuscript, I said, okay, this is where it needs to break. It needs to break here. Here's how you need to pace it. So this one here. Funny, I gave this to my son-in-law, and while we're sitting, he'd read half the book because it's just no chapters they're all chapters about 1 page a chapter, right?
Beautiful.
Just pacing.
If you're going to have a book on minimalism.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I was thinking, you know, the stories, because there's some amazing stories in your community. I mean, that was the thing that I got. Yeah.
Yes.
And they're all inspirational, and you learn, you know, like you hear a story which is nothing to do with my life whatsoever, and yet I'm totally involved in it, totally fascinated by it. Where I thought, you know, this is super, super nice, and where they're pulling the principles out, and you know, and so in the brand book, what all Sammy did was she wrote the forward and the backward to the book, and gave people a heads up about, you know, what do you want to look for in this book, and what can you take, and how to take the most out of the book.
Yeah, nice.
With a little bit of section on some of her principles, and then so that you've got a little bit of a guide about what to look for when you're listening to the story. You know, it's just wonderful. Yeah, but I thought, there's got to be a Triple D book or an MM book. You know, written by the people who've done it, and you know,
exactly.
Yeah, that just throws it out globally, you know, because I like the comment you said earlier that it's useful. It doesn't have to be accurate; it just has to be really useful. But there's an integrity to it as well. You know, there's a nice,
absolutely.
You haven't deviated too far from, you know, your obligation to impart wisdom.
To me, that's the thing, because if it's useful, it has to be accurate in a way that's useful.
Yeah.
But if it's just accurate,
yeah, but never inappropriate.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I know people are doing stuff that's just whack, Yeah, it's just not appropriate, from any standard. But so those books I just sort of talked to you about, they get run by the person who reads, like Susan, when she read them, she said, no, this needs to go back to tweak because that's not actually correct what she's saying. Or, what she said is not, you can't do that in this country, for example.
Right.
Or how to pull cash out of your business. Well, it's illegal in this country. It's probably is in most countries. You can't hide cash, if you know what I mean.
Right.
So there was a story about hiding cash. She said, no, that can't be in the book.
No.
You've got to play a straight bat, no matter what it is. Yeah. 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 So, yeah. But I mean, that's there's the MM wasn't a community thing, was it? It was more of a
solo show.
Yeah. But it's what you brought to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Was there a Facebook community with that group as well?
No, the only one. Now, we decided not to do one with MM because that would get people talking about it instead of doing it.
Got it.
So with MM, the whole thing was those tiny little experiences every day for 90 days.
Yeah.
And then, of course, people posted in the Law of Attraction by Neville Goddard about it, which is cool.
Yeah.
But you'll notice like nobody goes in there and tries to explain a whole lesson or whatever because it just gets so clusterfucked if they try that. Because MM really is, it's all coyote, it's all trickster, trying to get you to just notice something different, and then you're different.
Yeah. It's really interesting you say that because when I finished the Triple D, I thought, I'm going to go back in and just start unpacking lessons, and I did one thing and then I deleted it. And I thought, no, my job wasn't to teach this. My job was to go live it, go do it, and rather than go back into the group and start teaching it. And as soon as I did it, I felt it felt icky straight away. And that's your job, not my job. If you know what I mean, it's your job to do that. But it was my job to sort of go, okay, I've pulled enough notes out of it, and I can go back and revise it as much as I want.
Yes.
And it wasn't the notes, because the notes are, anyone who opens this book and read it would go, I don't understand it, but I do, because it was relating to what I was experiencing at the time. And that's what makes it relevant to me, because I can look at that and go, oh yeah, that was, and my notes were, how is this relevant to me, rather than what am I learning that I could go teach, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Teach myself, maybe. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. 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 But the book thing I love, the book thing lights me up. I did a book last year called How to Listen to Someone Who's Really Upset. And again, it was just nice that the thing was paying attention. And again, that was pretty much a big takeaway that I got from MM. You're actually listening to yourself. You're listening to what's going on in yourself. That's saying that was a lesson I took from it. Just slow down, and so that's why sitting in the garden is really nice. Having a G&T at 5 o'clock is nice. Just sitting with the dog and just play catch up. Maybe that's the way of my way of revising, isn't it? Maybe, who knows?
I really get that it doesn't. If you make it rigid, it's not useful. But just being able to sit there and ponder and just reorganize and just nurture.
I had a guy who came down, and because I love cooking. 2 years ago I couldn't cook, and I thought the best way for me to learn how to cook really fast is to have an away day for executives where they come down and cook a meal. So they come to my house and they come into the kitchen and we cook and we talk. More often than not, what we made was nothing to shake about, but it was the most magnificent meal they'd ever created, right? When they just raved about this meal that they created. But it was the wraparound of talking, and I had these static whiteboards and they could make notes and stuff like that. And so we were sort of following a recipe, but it was more that it was an opportunity just to slow down and talk about shit or little tiny little stuff, right? Which they then went, yeah, that was a good idea. Out of that.
I love where you play. Really, this is delightful.
Yeah. Does intention play a big part in this?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Okay.
To me, it's almost one. You know how words can mean anything to anyone.
Yeah.
Let me check my time. Cool. We got about 5 minutes or so.
Done. Yeah.
I think the thing with intention. If attention is how you pay attention to something, I'll say yes.
Yeah. The only reason I say it is I had a guy who came down here one lunchtime, right? And he kept talking about how screwed up his office was, and how the people in the office dynamics, right?
Right.
And the question was, what do I need to do to get these guys to blah blah blah, right? What skills do I need to learn, right? You know where I'm going with this. Right?
I definitely can feel it.
Yeah. You know where I'm going with this, right? So he's how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I do this? Right? And I just noticed firstly that he thinks it's easy, and it's not. It's actually difficult what he's trying to achieve. That's part of the frustration, right? And he doesn't want to give it any time whatsoever. He just wants a really quick answer. How do I fix that? Right? My question was, what would you need to believe to have that environment, right? So there's a guy, Robert Dilts, which I'm sure you know, and he's that's where I was playing with it, right? So his identity was, I'm no good with people, I don't cope with this, blah blah blah, right? But so he's trying to fix everything in his environment, right? And so we went up and had a conversation about intention, about what are you trying to achieve? What would good look? And he said, well, I'm trying to be really professional. I really want to be professional. Why? Because blah, blah, blah. So it stopped being about him and started being about, the value that he was bringing. So as soon as he clarified that, his identity, like you talk about loving puppy dad, loving husband, which is identity. Thing, right? Which is a wonderful piece of technology. It's just that alone is probably worth the entry price to say a lot of your stuff. Just that one insight is wonderful, right? When you get clear on that, because you fix your identity stuff. And not just one thing; it's actually three. Out of that, I just adopted a loving grandfather, loving friend, loving coach, right? And it just solved so many issues. But sitting above that was this intention of, why do I want to be that? And it was more for the benefit of others, if you know what I mean. It was in a very general sense. And it was amazing how that just changed his state. Everything changed from that, now I know why I'm doing it, and it's not about me, it's about something bigger, right? Yeah, which is wonderful. Do you enjoy doing these chats? I do. I'm having a really good fun doing this. I love chatting with you, mate.
It's funny. I have gotten to the point where I will only do quote unquote coaching calls with Dream Driven Day people.
Yeah,
because it's almost impossible for me to. I enjoy talking to anyone, but the speed at which I can hit the ground with someone who's done Triple D is just marvelous.
Yeah.
Because it's just that we've got traction already. You know?
So there's a quick story. When I was a kid, there was a girl I was really sweet on, and we went to the local carnival, came to town with a big Ferris wheel, right? And to impress her, I borrowed my brother's jacket and his shirt, right, to dress. I put on a suit type thing, but it was that awkward, when the suit's too big.
Right.
Right. And anyway, I'm thinking, my imagination is we're going to canoodle on the top, on the chair at the top of the Ferris wheel, right? The carney's going to stop it, and we're going to have a cuddle on the top of this thing. We get up there, and the guy says, "Mate, your sister can get on the ride, but you're a little too small for us."
Oh no!
Right. And I realise now he was having a dig, right? I met the height requirement easily, right? But he was just having a bit of fun. Man, that stayed with me forever, right? For a long, long time. And then I had an insight one day where I'm sort of building on what you just said, where I started putting height restrictions into a lot of the stuff I do. If you haven't done this, you can't come on this ride. Right?
Nice.
Right.
Nice notice.
So yeah. So, and it changed. It became a story that really empowered me. It became a story where I thought, oh, I love this now. So, you know, I did a thing the other day where I said, if you're not doing 5 mil turnover, you can't come on this ride. It's not, you can't be in this group. Right. And then people going, let me in. Well, when you hit 5 mil, you can come in, but you can't otherwise. It's something like stupid as benign as that. But I really get what you just said. Yeah, because you can hit the ground so much faster. If you've done triple D, you can
absolutely.
You're already online. You're online. You're in beat with it. Yeah. So the height restriction works to your advantage there. I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah. Yeah. That's a very, very nice observation. Yeah. Just gave me a lift.
Cool, my friend.
Yeah. How can I help you?
Wow.
Because you help me, mate.
Come to Australia sometime.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll mention something off when we're done. So
yeah, sure.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
my takeaway from this, mate, is just how generous you are. I love your generosity of spirit. I really love it. There's a real givingness to it, you know. Yeah. So it's just there's a lot of warmth, but there's a warm generosity. That's what I like about it. You know, there's your programs are just done so nicely, if that's a word. And for me, they got in my face too much, which I liked as well.
You know, I think you've described the state of 2020 in our exploration here. What you've opened up with and what we're closing down with is just a perfect loop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mate, I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. It sneaks up on you occasionally. I'll open up and I go, man, that was good. That was really, really useful. And useful is a word you've used, and so I think you tick the box on the useful thing, you know. Yeah, so I just want to say thanks for that. Yeah, very, very generous, very generous. You know, yeah, I like the way you do it. Yeah, there's a lot of style to it.
More to come.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, and I appreciate the time you gave me. Lovely. Yeah.
I'm going to hit the stop button.